What's going on? What's going on? South Showtime. This is LeBron G. Consciousness.
Hey, what's going on,
What's going on, brothers?
Hey, G-Con, what's cracking?
And then I wanted to ask Asher some questions. You said you keep Torah, right?
Yes,
Hello?
I try to keep Torah. The Almighty doesn't expect perfection.
Yeah, because when you look at Deuteronomy 27 and 26, it says, and also Deuteronomy, Leviticus 18, it says that if a man should live therein. So if you said you keep Torah, it's just like, okay, and I'm pretty, you very familiar with contracts. I'm not, I know you are. We are on a daily basis. It's like I'm renting right now. I got a lease agreement. In that lease agreement, would you agree that if I broke the terms and conditions of that lease agreement, that I am in violation of that term, of that contract?
Yes.
Right. So my thing is this: why are you telling people you're keeping Torah then? Because if you have been given the law, you've been given this covenant, and we see that the things that fell under the covenant was the vessels, the tabernacle, the blood, the book, and the people, and they were sprinkled and they came into the berith of the covenant, and that was the token of the covenant. If you believe that, then how is it you're telling people that you're keeping Torah, but you're not even keeping the whole law? You're not even keeping those things at all, because you don't have the tabernacle. That's the first thing. That came up under the blood. You do not have the vessels. The people are scattered. And you're not keeping the judgments. Leviticus chapter 18 tells you that you must keep the statute, the ordinances, and judgments. If you're not doing that, stop telling people you're keeping Torah, bruh, because it's talking about.
Okay, so I think that you should continue reading past 27 and read chapter 28 and 29, which speaks about exile and ultimately redemption. In other words, within the covenant, it speaks about Israel being exiled, which is where we are today. But then it speaks about them being restored from exile. Now, are Jews allowed to build temples in exile or offer sacrifices? Of course not. This was reiterated clearly by King Solomon when he was rededicating the temple. He says that when you exile Israel from wherever they happen to be, if they turn back to this place and they pray with a pure heart, you should forgive them and bring them back. In other words, that's exactly where we are now, and this is part of the covenant. So I'm not sure how I'm not keeping Torah.
So here's the thing. Now, if you notice what you just read, you were scattered because you broke Torah, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Right, so if you were scattered because you broke Torah, it's clear that you can't do all that is in Torah while you scatter, because that's Torah. So that's called grace. That's what that's called. What you're talking about is grace and mercy, because when you will miss the mark, there's grace and there's mercy there. But here's the thing.
And that's part of Torah, by the way.
You haven't received Christ, though. Like, you don't believe the Messiah came, but
grace has nothing to do with the Messiah, by the way. This isn't our first exile.
Sorry?
Grace has nothing to do with the Messiah, and this is actually our third exile. In other words, wasn't Israel exiled to Babylon, and God heard their cry there and brought them back? In other words, if it happened before, it will happen again. And all this is within Deuteronomy chapter 28, 29, and Leviticus 26, that speaks about Israel eventually sinning, being exiled, and then only being redeemed once they repent. So all this is part of the covenant. In other words, us breaking the covenant is part of the covenant. Within the covenant, it speaks about the process that someone uses to restore the covenant. But it's all part of the same covenant. Now, that covenant cannot be restored without Jews keeping Torah. So when I say that I try to keep Torah to the best of my ability, that's exactly what I mean. I'm trying to restore the covenant, and every religious Jew is. And you could join us by converting to Judaism.